So we are excited to be here today. You're going to be the first people in the world to hear this content. So we developed this specifically for you. If we get good feedback, it could be something bigger and better. So welcome. Today we're going to be talking about resolving issues when generations collide. So when you walk out of here today, I want you to have these two outcomes, right? Our desired outcomes are, number one, I want each of you to understand the importance of effective communication across generations. And two, I want you to be ready to implement simple, practical tools to solve issues quickly, clearly, and for good. So we'll do that through our agenda. First, we'll dig into why does this matter? Right? Why is it a big deal to make sure we're communicating effectively across generations? Next, what are the barriers, right? We see all these symptoms out there, and what Charlotte and I discovered through our experience is there's only 5 root causes to why we can't communicate effectively across generations. Then we'll dig into some tools. We'll introduce you to 3 very simple, practical tools to help you communicate effectively with those who are not in your generation, but also they work for those who are too. And then lastly, we're going to conclude by a commitment, where each one of you will make a commitment before you leave here today on how to have maybe an uncomfortable conversation, something you've been putting off for a while. So with that said, I'll kick it over to Charlotte for a moment so she can give you a little anecdote.
Yes. I like to tell the story of why I do what I do and how I got into this business. I don't have any official training, I don't have certifications, but I do have 30 plus years of experience dealing with this very topic. When I first graduated from college 30 something years ago, I was hired by a large Fortune 100 company, Bell South Telecommunications, for those of you old enough to remember what regional telephone companies were. I was very fortunate. It was hard to come by, but what I found is in the department that I was hired in, I was by far the youngest. Most of the people I was working with were 10, 15, 20 years older. I had big time imposter syndrome, which is a word now, but we didn't know what to call it then. But that's what it was. I didn't feel qualified. I felt like I didn't know enough. I didn't feel confident talking to the customers, the clients that we were dealing with. And so I kind of began a journey accidentally. Somebody introduced me to the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, for any of you who have gone, and it was written in the 1930s, still classic information. So I took that and made it kind of a game, and I said, let me see how many of these principles I can apply. And so over the next several years of my career, I implemented and I practiced. And so a few years down the road, and there were other books and seminars that I got to hear, but I got a chance to kind of transform my confidence through learning better communication skills, so I could go into a room and lead a group of people that were my parents' ages, and I felt qualified to be there. And so the next step for me was being a full-time mom. Didn't have it in the plan, but that's the way it worked out. Had an opportunity to homeschool my own children for part of their education. I was really intentional in teaching them these people skills. And because they had been important to me, I knew that, getting along with people, and not that you're best friends with everybody, but just being able to have a good conversation means the world to most people. And so I was real intentional making sure they had those skills. When they hit high school and then college, I saw them flourishing in areas, not because they were brilliant or geniuses, but because they knew how to talk to people. They'd go to their professor and talk to people about internships, and they weren't intimidated to go talk to someone and ask questions and have a conversation. So I thought, well, if I could teach a few people in this generation, they're all Gen Zers, maybe I can teach others. And so it kind of has grown into a much bigger idea through being able to work with managers and individuals. But it's a personal lived experience that I like to share with people.
Awesome,
and I think Mick's going to give us a little background of his start and why he's where he is.
Yeah, so I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs throughout my career, and I found that many of these business owners, they're smart. They're really smart human beings, right? They're great at developing. They have a vision. They're great at developing strategies to achieve that vision. Typically, they figured out how to make something or sell something, and they get really, really good at it. They're very smart. What they're not oftentimes is healthy from a communication standpoint, right? Healthy as in they're afraid to have a hard conversation. Healthy as in they're not listening to input from others. And I've made it my life's work to create organizations that are both healthy and smart. And I found throughout this that personally, I got to be able to walk the talk, right? Mm-hmm. And I found that my level of happiness is directly proportionate to the number of uncomfortable conversations I'm willing to have. Mm-hmm. So I hope that, my hope for all of you today is to understand why they're important and then to be able to effectively have these types of conversations. Mm-hmm. When I think about conversations, Charlotte and I were trying to figure out, okay, how can we really tee this up, right? And we were reminded of a quote.
Yeah.
So you want to read the quote?
Absolutely. Nick shared a great quote that we thought would be fun. It's kind of a little pop quiz. I want you to listen to it and figure out if you know who said it, if somebody famous, and maybe a general time that it was said. Our youth now love luxury. They have bad manners, contempt for authority, they show disrespect for elders, and they love to chatter instead of exercise. Children are tyrants, not servants of their household. They no longer rise when elders walk in the room. They contradict their parents, chatter before company, gobble up their food, and tyrannize their teachers. Does anybody have an idea who that is? Do you know?
My house last night.
Yes.
Dr. Phil?
No, a little earlier than that.
I've heard this. It's way
John?
I feel like I've heard this. Is it like Socrates or something like that?
That's who is attributed to this. Socrates, back in 400 BC time frame. Now my follow-up question, I'm sorry?
Even back then.
Even back then. And it's funny, I've heard similar quotes like from the 20s and 30s and 40s and 50s that seem like a long time ago. And to hear that this was an issue.
You didn't mention screen time. I knew it was pre.
That's true. That's a good catch.
They stare at their scrolls all day. That's all they do. They look at scrolls.
Papers out of control.
Yes, and Elizabeth answered the follow-up question already. I was like, is this relatable today? Yes, so we want to give you a few questions to think about as we talk through the next little while. And just, you don't have to answer these out loud, but just think about a recent work situation where you felt like something was off, but you didn't speak up, and what stopped you from doing that. And I know we all have different structures of our businesses. We have solopreneurs, we have people that work for larger organizations, and people who supervise people. But think about if there were any hard conversations that you didn't have, and why. And you might be more enlightened as you hear a little bit more. What frustrates you the most when working with people from a different generation? Now, it looks like we don't have any Gen Zers, 20-somethings here. So if you're working with a younger person, just think about what would frustrate you. Flip it, and what would frustrate a younger person from working with you, or other generations? It might be an older person working with you. So just think through those things and how you can, the next time, make that conversation easier or be more open to it. Now, I do want to get some input from y'all.
Oh, I'll take care of this.
Can we flip over? Or will you scribe, or do you want me to scribe?
I will scribe.
Okay, that'd be great. We do want input from y'all. And because of these misunderstandings and conflicts that happen, what are some things that can result that are bad for business? So what can we see with miscommunication in a business, whether it be from peers or...
duplicating work.
Absolutely. Duplicating work, and a lot of times that comes because you don't both, like two departments or two people don't realize the other one's already working on it. So that's a great point. What else?
Aiming for a target that frankly isn't the intended target.
Absolutely. Unclear expectations or unclear goals. John, did I see your hand up?
I just think that I'm curious. Like, it seems like the opposite of duplicated work would be the work doesn't get done at all.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, missed work.
Employee turnover.
Yes. So missed work, and that can create missed deadlines. You know, if somebody doesn't do something they're supposed to. Employee turnover is a tangible, like measurable thing. Absolutely. So losing clients, losing customers.
I think on the lines of duplicated work, we just recently had a turnover at our company, and she was on the operations side, and lovely lady. She was like 27, 28 years old, and kind of a quiet demeanor about her, steady Eddie work plotter. And then we recently replaced her with another young person like her.
Okay.
Maybe a couple years on her, maybe so, I don't know, it was 28, 30 years old, whatever. And just went to dinner with her last week and her husband. And anyway, we're excited. And in that experience, we saw what we had
Right.
a little closer because we had a computer and we saw her workflow process that we didn't see the other way around. And it wasn't really much duplicated work. It was the way that she worked on her Outlook. She had like things, the same thing noted 3 or 4 times in 3 or 4 different places and how she worked. So duplicated work. She actually worked harder and having to double check when she had a workflow process that was not streamlined. It was check it here, check it here, check it here, check it here.
Wow.
Just so you don't forget it. And her flow of how she did it, and it really caused us to kind of rethink. And we actually used her to actually document every process in our company. And now it's all documented, so this new person coming in is able to have everything nice and documented, but it's not documented efficiently. It needs to be cut out 40% of the workflow, so there'll be 60%, which is core to work. So duplicated work, I'd say working harder, working longer. And, I don't know. That's
So in hindsight, would you have gone back to inspect earlier?
Inspected you. I expected a little earlier. Yeah, and it was in the experience of, working from home. All companies detached and virtual. You don't know what you don't know, and that's a challenge there as well. But
Thank you. Michelle, I saw your hand up a minute ago.
I call this pot stirring, but there was a time when I led a multi-generational team. And sometimes those of a generation one person's complaint would become everyone's complaint. And suddenly it would set additional barriers where really the poor person had an issue.
That's a good point. So dissension, or I like pot stirring actually. I think that's a kind of people understand. So
I apologize for having to step out.
No, you're good.
I hope it hasn't already been said, but I think also miscommunication, like you give direction.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you think it's clear.
Yes.
Or feedback, you get feedback from them and you take it the wrong way. So a lot of miscommunication can happen.
Absolutely.
I'll add to this communication prioritizing. I heard this person again who do something like that. She had a list of 5 things to do, but then a call would come in that needed a contract to get something done that day. Stuff done by noon, same day, goes out same day.
Okay.
That's the service level agreement that we have with our clients.
Okay.
And it would roll into 2 o'clock. She didn't even touch it yet, but she's got her head down doing task 1 she was doing. It needed to get done too, but prioritizing some communication to her, not having discernment about that.
That's one of those urgent versus important things that you have to kind of balance and figure out. So, well, y'all did a great job. Is there more, Alan?
Unnecessary and unintended stress. Some people aren't gonna apply. Because they don't have a personality to deal with that.
And that affects the whole feel or the whole vibe of, especially a group working together. If you got one person carrying more stress or bringing that on. Well, we're going to talk about some simple things you can do to help avoid some of this. We can't solve it all in a day.
This is this is a big list. My
it
goodness.
is a very big list. We didn't come up with this many ideas. So,
I think you covered everything that her and I came up with, plus a lot more. So is it impacts to your business, right? We have duplicated work. My goodness, that's highly inefficient. Unclear goals, missed work and deadlines. Oh boy, that's scary. Employee turnover, right? And the investment to get new people back on the bus. Losing business. That's revenue. Those are customers. Those are clients. That's a hurt reputation. Inefficient productivity, right? Redundant work being done over and over again. We're stirring the pot, kind of this group think and airing of grievances together. Miscommunication, feedback being misunderstood. We're not aligned on priorities, and then STRESS, stress, all that, the waking hours, right? Where we're thinking about all this stuff at nighttime and our dreams. We can't even get a peaceful night's sleep because of all the stress this is adding on.
Very much so. Well, we've got a little humorous break. There is an HR person, I think she's actually based in Canada, but she puts out these very entertaining but realistic videos. And so we've clipped a couple of these together. And as you're watching these, some of them are her talking to some, excuse me, some Gen Z employees on the phone. Some of them are talking to baby boomers. So these are opposite ends of the spectrum, but it kind of gives you a sense in what somebody in this position would deal with. All right. Not sure if that's me.
Sorry, I blinked, I missed it.
Yeah.
Typical Gen Zer.
Is there something wrong with my paycheck?
Oh no, what happened?
So like, why did you take off a bunch of money?
You mean deductions? Well, first of all, it's not me, that's the government. And it goes to like pension and unemployment, that sort of thing.
Oh, okay, well, I don't think I really need those. Can you stop it?
Oh, you can tell it's not really how it works.
But I'm not ever gonna be unemployed, and retirement is like so far away. I'd rather just have the money now.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's just that's not really how income works.
Hey Jamie, who cleans the mugs in the staff room? The sink is full of dirty ones.
We clean our own. Everyone should do their own.
So no one cleans it. Like, what do I do with all these mugs?
You clean them. Your confusion is kind of confusing me here.
I have a dishwasher at home, but I don't see one here.
Hi, Jackson.
Jamie, bro, what can I do for you?
I know you your holiday schedule. Do you need any time off?
Oh, I don't know, man. Can you call Pam?
No, Jackson, I'm not calling your mom again.
Everyone is home way better than I do.
Hi, Jackson. Can you work late next Tuesday for a big shoot?
Oh, man. I don't know. That's so far. Can you guys fucking on?
No, Jackson, I'm not doing that again.
Jamie, bro.
But pal.
How do I get my pay stubs again? My mom is asking for them.
Okay, relax, Jackson. All of the details will be in your email.
Can you just send that to my mom?
No, you can forward her the email. Hey, Pam.
Jamie, we haven't spoken since last week.
Hi, Jerry. It's Jamie.
Jamie?
No, Jamie, your manager, Jamie.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
I don't understand why I need a social media account, Jamie.
It's for the company, Sandra, to get awareness and engagement.
Engagement? Who? You?
No, not an engagement, like from followers, just following us.
Who's following you?
Seriously, Sandra, it is okay. Just stay home today. We are going to be absolutely fine without you.
No, I can come in. I have never called in sick yet, and I don't plan to today.
Yeah, but Sandra, you were hit by a car this morning, scheduled for surgery tomorrow, so I really recommend you just take the day to rest. Okay, Jerry, well, have a great day. I will talk to you soon, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. Jamie, you have a good day.
Jerry, you called me Jamie.
Sorry, Jamie.
So, and she's put out many of these. So, have any of you heard any of those kind of topics? Joe's shaking his head. Yeah. And as silly as they sound, they are real conversations that people have.
Is there anything in there that really resonated with someone?
My daughter just accepted her first job ever as a 20-year-old. I'm waiting for her to get her first paycheck so we can have that first conversation.
Oh, where'd all my money go? I worked so hard and this is all that I get. What else?
I thought the mom calling in. I've had that.
Really?
I've had it for a spouse and I've had it with the mom. With my employees. I'm like, I've had to sit down like, you're not my employee.
That's crazy.
Amazing what happens when you write their mom. It's amazing, like when the corrective actions go out, like all the people just come in and I'm not happy. She's like, how dare you? Well, we have a process.
Aren't young people taking their parents to interviews now?
I've heard stories.
What?
Yeah.
Into the interview?
Into the interview.
There was a Seinfeld about that.
Flip-flops and shorts.
One of the questions that
Or was
I
it Everybody Loves Raymond? It was Everybody Loves Raymond. There was an episode of that.
one of the questions that I have asked over the years when I was doing a lot of college recruiting is,
if you started your first day at work and you needed to figure out how to do something, and I, your manager, am not available, what's your go-to? And I want to know, like, do you Google it? Do you watch a YouTube video about it? Do you get up from your desk and walk down the hall and see if it's an hour remote work? Anyway, and the people that are like, I call my mom, like,
But I was really impressed, though, that the gal that I told you about, I see stuff I couldn't figure out. She'd go on YouTube or go on, figure stuff out. I was impressed. I was thankful. I was appreciative of her skill set there to do it differently than I did. So I respected the difference. I respected that she worked a little slower and different than me. And it's a communication. I think responsibility from my portion of the problem, obviously, but differences aren't always bad.
How do you feel about the HR person actually calling the Gen Z's mom at the end of that little skit?
It actually doesn't.
Yeah, it's kind of continue to enable that behavior, right?
That also seems like a legal liability.
Maybe. In Canada, though, so it's...
Might be different laws. So, well, should I go on to the generations?
Yeah.
Okay.
We have some guided notes for you. Anyone need a pen?
Oh, and actually I have put these, yeah.
A pen is like a keyboard, except for you have to use your,
and I do have
your arm
pens.
and wrist instead of your fingers.
It's very analog.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Joe, do you need a pen?
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Bam.
You got one?
Yes, I do need that.
Okay.
So I can not steal.
Anybody? Okay.
So where's the disconnect? Why are these communication issues taking place? What we're seeing are symptoms. Charlotte's going to dig in. These are the root causes that we unpacked.
Yeah, it was a really great conversation working together with Nick, because we took some of the EOS framework that he helps entrepreneurs use to run their businesses well and the best and efficiently. And then we integrated some of the generational differences to see what that would look like. I'm gonna give a really quick recap. I know most of you are pretty familiar with the generations, but I'm gonna give a real quick in case somebody's curious about ages. Our baby boomers, I know we have a few in the room. Right now, ages are 61 to 79. They value loyalty, experience, hierarchy, structure as defaults. Our Gen Xers, a lot of those here too, ages 45 to 60 right now. They're often self-reliant, skeptical, very independent, like to work autonomously, can sometimes be kind of cynical about things. We have our millennials. Those are 29 to 44 right now. And they thrive on collaboration, frequent feedback, purposeful work. They're the first generation to bring really focus on what does my work matter in the world. I'm not saying individuals didn't think that, but as collectively, as an age group. And they're very comfortable with flexibility over a lot of the really highly structured organizations. And then we have our Gen Zers, our 20-somethings. They're right now 13 to 28, so only about half of them are in the workforce right now, but more will be coming. And they are obviously digital natives, spend time with the screen time. John mentioned that was not brought up in the Socrates quote. They like transparency, they like inclusivity, a long one, and also want that clear sense of individual impact. Now, Nick gave out a framework for some things we're going to talk about. Again, high-level overview. Any questions about kind of the ages of the generations?
What's after the Gen Zers, the little kids?
Those are Gen Alpha.
Gen Alpha?
Mm-hmm. And they are, I don't know, and honestly, let me think, 13. The next group just started this year, 2025, I think. I don't know. Are they the Gen Betas?
For now.
For now? Okay. Literally just 7 months, 8 months, or whatever. So yeah, technically there are 4 generations working, at least 6 or 7 generations alive. They're just either too young or too old to work. Although there might be some 80-somethings working.
Okay, what is it? Silent?
The greatest generation. Yep. What'd you say?
They named themselves first.
Yes. Okay, so what we're going to do now is if you will flip the page over that I left in front of you, you don't need to read it all now because it's got a lot of information. But we're going to talk about, as Nick brought up earlier, the main causes of conflict, barriers to resolution. Is a fancier way to say it. And he's got these great examples, these great tangibles. What do you call it?
Props.
Props, thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Mascots.
That's great props that we're going to use to talk about those. There are 5 basic barriers to communication. And the first one that we're going to talk about is Mr. Elephant, the elephant in the room. And this is the one that's fear of conflict. So y'all have heard the term, the elephant in the room, but nobody wants to talk about it. That's what this one represents. And people are afraid. Sometimes it's easier to just keep your mouth shut and stay silent than to challenge the status quo or to say something that might challenge somebody else, especially with generations. Because if an older person is in the room and there's something new and technological and whatever that they don't understand, they may be afraid to say, hey, I don't understand that. And one of the result of this is that the real issues stay hidden and they're either slowly resolved or may not be resolved. So elephant in the room just this big thing and I.
So if you're keeping along, fear of conflict.
Yes, please.
Fear of conflict. We're afraid.
Yep. Now, the table that we gave you is an example of what that might look like for each generation. You don't want to read through it now because it's just a lot of information. But one of the examples I wanted to share was the millennials often fear being difficult to bring up things. And I don't know if y'all remember a few years back, there was the nickname the snowflake generation. I think it's very disrespectful, but the point was that people were just accusing them of being too sensitive about things, when in reality, a lot of the things probably needed to be talked about. And so a lot of them just probably learned to be quiet because they didn't want to be accused of that. And please jump in if I've missed a thought or anything. The next one we're going to talk about, I hear a moo over there somewhere. Uh-huh. This is our sacred cow.
Moo.
And I think you all have the idea. Insecurity with the unknown. And the sacred cow, you think about things, the term, we've always done it that way. Doesn't explain anything, doesn't explain why it's the best way to do something, but that's kind of an indicator of that mentality. Pardon me. So insecurity with unknown. Most people are very uncomfortable with change. And people kind of behave differently with that. Some are more accepting, some are more resistant. And in this situation, tension builds between what's traditional and then what's possible, because people aren't willing to change. It also creates more friction instead of focus. So if you have one or more people in a group situation that want to hang on to this because they're afraid of the change, we have our sacred cow.
Yep, so F of C, fear of change. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And an example, let's talk about a Gen Z.
I'm sorry, fear of change, elephant. Sacred cow is insecurity with the unknown. Right?
Yes.
So there's the fear of change, but the insecurity of what happens if we change, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And a Gen Z would be, the way a Gen Zer, a young 20-something, would exhibit this is they expect quick evolution and continuous improvement. And they may not understand why old systems are still in place. Because legitimately, there's some systems that can't be changed overnight and do need time. And sometimes Gen Zers might get impatient or frustrated with that. Now, in the same field or probably a different field, we might find a bull. Bulls wouldn't be mixed in with the cows, would they?
It's a boy cow.
So don't be a bully.
Toro. to do the running to the bulls.
I didn't bring the red cape.
And I didn't bring my extra pair of lungs to be chased.
Oh,
so.
yeah. The conversation domination. So don't be a bully is this theme. And you all have been in those meetings. Maybe you have been the person in those meetings, but one voice drowns out everybody else. They're the ones that know the answers. It needs to be their way. And of course, if you're in meetings with those, it's kind of hard to be productive or to get anything done. The meetings feel one-sided. The people there don't feel like they're having any input. And I attributed this one a boomer example because a lot of boomers are stuck in their ways and just want to do things the way they've always done them. So just show of hands, can anybody think of a person that you've been in a meeting or a thing with, a discussion with that just dominated? Yeah.
So the Navy uses that experience. I don't know about the Army, but when you would ask a question like, this seems so antiquated and illogical, why do we do this? And they'd say, tradition.
Oh.
And they chalk up a ton of stuff to tradition.
And never change those things.
It's the way we've always done it. We're not going to change it because that's our tradition.
Wow. Yeah.
Sacred cows.
Sacred cows. Yeah, and the next time you're in the mood, I'm trying to think of something funny you could say that would say something to the bully, but might get you in trouble too. Our next prop representative is our horsey, our horse. And the horse represents passive aggressiveness and beating a dead horse. You all know the term. I think it's kind of gross, but yeah, you got the idea. And when people don't feel safe, a lot of times they withdraw, they shut up, they shut down. And with that, though, can also be some malice. They're going to stick their foot in the sand so that people can't make progress because they don't like the way it's going. The result of this is the same problems keep popping up over and over. They're never resolved because you don't have the team working together or even the pair working together. So the beating of the dead horse is that passive aggressiveness. Now, I have a family full of people that operate this way. Can y'all think of people like in your business world or in your family that you just can't make progress with relationships or projects or whatever you're working with because they're not participating?
Bless your heart crowd.
Say again?
The bless your heart crowd.
Bless your heart crowd. And Gen X, and I'll claim this one, can check out of conversations or appear cynical rather than confronting an issue. And I was in a group of discussion a few weeks ago. It was a group in my neighborhood, and one of the women just did that dominate thing, and I checked out. Like mentally, I felt myself just check out. I'm like, I'm not even gonna confront this. Not worth it. Our last one is actually, I think of the movie Between the Hedges when I think of this one. It's our squirrel. It's chasing squirrels.
I don't know what sound squirrels make.
They actually bark. I didn't realize till I started trying to listen to bird sounds, and I was like, "What is that bird?" And it was like, it wasn't picking up on my app.
Yeah.
It had to be a squirrel.
Interesting. Can you demonstrate for us?
Probably not very accurately, but it's like a chirp, kind of a bird barking thing, like little.
Yeah.
Kind of weird.
So chasing squirrels, and we all have these moments where we're distracted or avoid, we avoid it, we find something else to do, or we're doing something important and then there's a shiny new thing and we run after that. Just the lack of focus, the fast-moving environments that we live in today, easy to stay busy and to miss the main points, to miss what actually matters. And the result of this is that you stay busy, but you don't make progress. Have y'all ever worked with people like that who were always busy, but didn't really get closer to the goal? And so these are squirrels. And Gen Z is a good example of this, not because they're all distracted, but they grew up, quote, multitasking, which I think you probably know is a misnomer. In other words, you can't truly multitask. But with the digital tools, and they may get distracted real easily, or they may get really impatient. Like if a meeting is taking too long, they might get impatient with that. So we're going to ask some questions of the 5 barriers, ones that stood out to you that you either work with or feel, if you want to share it, if you relate or resonate with any of these.
My kids tell me I'm the bully.
Really?
Talk too much.
Okay. Do you think it's accurate, or do you think it's just a kid complaining about a dad?
Combination of both, probably.
I can piggyback on what Alan said. I thought that like all of these look like me and my kids, and I'm guessing because of the generational differences, that's why I can see so much of this going, okay, I can see a little bit of all of these in our interactions.
And that's brilliant insight, right? We dig down to the root cause. Are these root causes? Are they generational agnostic? Or they just manifest themselves in different ways, right? We see the symptoms, but we drill. We're all humans, right? We're all when we're not at our best. We're fear of conflict, right? We're not addressing those sacred cows. We can all dominate conversations, right? We can all get distracted or avoid those conversations. We can be passive aggressive. And once we understand that these aren't generational problems, then we have to have a mindset shift, right? We have to shift our mindset. And a really powerful metaphor, I want all of you to grab your phone real quick. Grab your phone, make sure it's off. So all you see is the screen. I want you to look in that screen. What do you see? Yeah, it's a mirror. So a mirror, when we're confronted with these conflicts, right? Generationally or just in general, are we looking ourselves in the mirror and asking, what am I doing to resolve this? How am I taking responsibility, right? Versus ineffective leaders are looking out the window first. They're blaming. They're a kid, they just don't get it, right? Or they're really old, they just don't get it. Now, when we're more powerful, once we have that the courage to look in the mirror and ask, okay, how do we get beyond this? How do we resolve this? That's when the mindset shifts. Then we need to enter the danger, and we got to summon the courage, right? Because almost all of this is rooted in fear. It's rooted in fear. All of our animal friends, like fear is like the root cause of all of this stuff. So how do we overcome that? And then how can we? Because we have our mind shift, we want to take responsibility, we want to work through it. We enter the danger. Then how do we summon the right tool to help us with these conversations? So questions before we dig into our tools.
My 2 words on chasing squirrels. I heard you say distract
or avoidance.
Or avoidance.
Or avoidance. Distract or avoidance.
I have my own idea of what is good conflict resolution, conflict prevention. Does the definition of that or the strategies around that change by generation, do you think? Or is there one best way to manage? Because it seems like most people haven't a clue. And where would they have learned it, really?
Through experience, right?
Yeah.
Immerse yourself into it.
Yeah.
Empathy, putting yourself in their shoes,
Yeah.
looking in the mirror, identifying what the barriers are and try to associate the behavior. Is this person being a bully? Am I being a bully? Is this person are we not addressing the sacred cow, right? Or am I doing that? Am I being distracted? Am I squirreling? Are they doing that?
And in my opinion, I think different generations would approach conflict resolution differently because younger generations, Gen Zers, millennials, are much more about transparency. I'm going to tell you how I feel. I'm going to tell you how it makes me feel. Just open book. Now, again, not 100% of the people are like that, but a tendency of theirs. Whereas your Gen Xers or boomers, a little more structured, that kind of thing. So I think a key is just making sure you agree on whatever method. So in other words, before you have it, you can actually say, okay, we're going to talk about this, this, and this. How do you feel about it? Kind of thing. John, I saw your hand up. I didn't know if you're going to add something.
Well, less of a question, more just observation to kind of build on what you just said. Like, I feel like from my perspective, just because I guess I'm like right at the very bottom end of Gen X, I got growing up to see all these boomers and everything. Anyway, long story short, like I can remember very distinctly, like nobody would discuss how much money they made.
Right.
But now I see kids talk like, oh, I make X, and they're just like on all that, like everything that they do. That's just a wide open book. And like even talking to my parents, they're just, everything is like, it's like trying to unlock a safe to get anything out of them.
So what do you think, if you could summon one of our 5 spirit animals, which one would you summon?
Oh, God. I guess being in Gen X, I'm just kind of closed off when it comes to my parents because they don't tell me, they just refuse to open up, and I don't know how to deal with that.
Elephant in the room?
Ah, okay.
Kind of this fear of conflict. Oh my goodness, what if what if they know how much I make?
I come across this a lot doing what I do because boomers don't, they have their assets everywhere. And they don't want to consolidate everything and tell their children and grandchildren what they have. And then they can tease us. It's a headache for the kids. That's a pattern that I see often.
Yeah, and maybe there's some sacred cows in there, right? My parents didn't talk about it. My grandparents didn't talk about it. We just don't talk about it. Sacred cow.
Yeah, and then you just have to suffer through it when it happens. And you miss something, you miss something.
I think Glassdoor kind of broke that, literally, that ceiling. Jason probably saw it firsthand over the years where they actually gave insight on what the going salaries were, which can create a lot of stress internally, right? When you hear people comparing salaries, that used to be taboo and it would create stress within the workforce.
Now, failure to advertise your compensation indeed will tell what your compensation is, whether you say it or not. It will say, this is the suggested compensation for this job title. And if you're a company that's old and manufacturing and you've got these CAD design operators or these other hourly talents and him or hers are making 18 to 22 an hour, but the job title now with competition in town is dictating 24 to 28 an hour, you run ads, we tell clients run your compensation and your ad as best practice, but they know they can't compete. So then you have a sacred cow, keep it quiet. And then your ads that come in, and you get overly compensated kids that want to make these higher rates, but your old guys, girls, whatever, in the company on the line, manufacturing, they're making less, but in order to hire, you're going to have to pay more.
Wow.
That's a real issue. I mean, the whole salary transparency thing is a really big issue.
Does anyone have had a recent conversation with a client or a customer where one of our spirit animals may have been a root cause of ineffective communication between the two of you?
Oh, sure.
Anyone care to share? I'd love to hear.
Yeah, it's the client who's a LinkedIn only advertiser. We used to use LinkedIn. It's a really, really, really big bank in the Eastern Seaboard, and the C-suite says, we want to buy LinkedIn. So I said, well, you're missing 50% of the total audience that wants to apply for all these hourly positions. So these people that hourly that you need to hire for are not on LinkedIn. We don't believe in LinkedIn for recruiting. We only want to spend money on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, we don't want to spend money on Indeed. I go, well, here's the data. So then you show them the data, and you show it to the C-suite, two presidents of 2 different organizations. And no, we're going to do LinkedIn only. So now I'm talking to the talent acquisition team, the director of all of talent, and I said, listen, you still have these needs. These people are not on LinkedIn. These people are on Indeed. You need to go spend money on Indeed. Well, the president said he didn't want to do that.
So keep that conversation in mind as we dig into these tools a little bit, see if they would help. Michelle, did you have an example?
I think it's pertinent, but I'm not positive. So, roundabout way, I got introduced to a man who's an older millennial, and he is between jobs transitioning, but part of it is he has no idea how to manage conflict. And so he either stays very, very quiet or gets intimidating and boisterous and sometimes physical. And he's a very large man, and so that makes it, people interpret him a certain way. And so we've just been able to go back through some scenarios recently and what happened and how he interpreted it and how he reacted, and then what are some other ways to talk through it. It's a whole new it's a whole new concept. So it kind of brings me back to, I think often his family has no conflict resolution skills at all. You know, his tendencies very much match that. You know, where are these people supposed to learn it so that he will be a better employee and people will be more likely. I have to tell you this stuff. Again, very large, tall, big, wide shoulders, muscular man. And I asked him, what do you do to blow off steam? Ice dancing. Isn't that? I love that. Ice dancing. Wow.
Is that a euphemism for figure skating?
Well, it's a type of figure skating, but with a partner that's more of a dance choreography. Yeah.
It's a lot of pressure on the ice.
I just love that.
Those little itty bitty skates on the bottom. You guys ready to dig into the tools? Anything else you wanted to talk about before we dug in?
That's good.
All right, we're going to introduce 3 tools. 1 is called a clarity break, 2 is called coin, 3 is called IDS. You're probably like, what on earth is all this stuff? Start with a clarity break. So if you flip the page, you'll notice there's a backside of notes too. So what is a clarity break? A clarity break is time alone to think clearly. Time alone to think clearly. So when we have conflict, the Japanese have an awesome language, and they have words, very simple words to describe concepts, right? That we need multiple words or sentence in English. So they have a concept called ma, M-A, and it roughly translates into a sacred pause. So when they talk about a ma, when you're confronted with something, you take a ma, you take a pause so you can act intentionally. A clarity break is a type of ma, so it allows you time to really think about what you're trying to do. What is the real issue? Some rules of a clarity break. 1, you have to get outside of your normal habitat, right? So outside of your home office, it could be on a nice walk, it could be in your favorite coffee shop, it could be in a room of a house that you rarely go into, but a space outside of your normal day-to-day. Then rule number 2 is no distractions. You're turning off your phone, you're not taking in your laptop, you're bringing in a pen and paper. And then 3, allow yourself to think, right? If you're in this instance, we're having a conflict with someone, could be an employee, could be a family member, could be a client, could be a vendor, and really gain clarity. Sit alone and think. Think about what you want. Think about your best approach. Think about the root cause of our little animal friends of what you're trying to solve. Think about the other tools that you can use to help you solve it. Clarity breaks can be very powerful, that alone time to think clearly. There's an old proverb with Zen, right? Zen says every human should meditate for at least 30 minutes a day. And if you don't have 30 minutes, then you need to meditate for an hour, right? Substitute meditate for contemplate to pray, right? Because that's when we get clarity, and we'll save so much time later if we gain clarity in the present. We're investing time now to pay off for our future self. So when it comes to a conflict, take a clarity break. And then you might use your clarity breaks to help prepare for the next tool. And this one is the COIN. Does everybody see it on your page? And this, I want you to pay really extra attention because you're going to get a chance to practice this in a little while. Ooh, spoiler alert.
Yes. So take extra notes or mental notes or whatnot. And again, using these clarity breaks is a great time for you to prepare for the kinds of conversations that you can lead through coin. Sometimes you need the break to get ready. The coin model is a simple and respectful framework for you to give specific and balanced feedback to somebody. And the cool thing is it's actionable without triggering somebody's emotions or without triggering them getting defensive. And the important things are, we're going to talk about these, I'm going to tell you the steps, and then I'm going to walk through an example. Coin, the C, yep, you got it up here, I'll get out of the way, is context. You set the scene, you briefly describe exactly the behavior, time, the setting of what you're going to give them feedback on. Our O is observation, and you describe exactly what you witnessed, what you saw, what you heard, No judgment in there, no inferring anything or interpreting anything. It's just facts of what you observed. Impact. This one, you're looking more outward. You're explaining the effect that that behavior that you just described has on the people that were part of the conversation. It might be a client, it might be you, it might be a coworker, it might be the person themselves. So you describe the impact that has. And then next is the end, the next steps that they take. So from this point forward, what is going to be the expectation? You state clearly what you'd like to see. Now, I'm going to give you an example of what this would look like. And our setting is that I'm a worker, I have an employee, we're on a conference call with a customer, a client. And so this is how we're going to step through the COIN. The context, I would say, during yesterday's call, will you be our...
Yep.
Yeah, so
what generation am I in?
Let's say you're a newbie. Let's say you're a 20-something.
Cool.
I hope you're taking notes with that.
Don't be an alpha.
Yes, context. Nick, during yesterday's call, I noticed some behavior that I wanted to mention and see if we can kind of discuss it a little bit. And the O, I noticed that you interrupted our client twice before they were finished telling what they had to say. Impact, how this impacted, that made it harder for the client to express themselves, and I felt like they were kind of shutting down when they couldn't express themselves, and I feel like it kind of impacted the trust that they have in our team. And then in our next steps is going forward, I'd prefer you to wait until the client finishes before you say something, and we make sure that they have the priority to say what they want to say. And then when you hear something, summarize it to make sure you understood what it was. Is that making sense to you? Do you recall the conversation and your participation in it or what you observed?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. So it's always been a problem, and thank you for making me aware.
Yeah. Now you hope they all go that way. And again, in a minute, y'all are going to have an opportunity to practice. The benefit of this thing is, first of all, it's easy to remember. That was my benefit added. It's neutral, and always, 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 don't criticize the person. It's the behavior you're giving the feedback on. So I'm not
Shirley didn't say you interrupt people. You're bad at interrupting people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the behavior, right?
So it's not that there's anything wrong with Nick as a person or an employee or a teammate it's just that particular behavior has negative consequences. So and I know for personal, like family disagreements, sometimes I'll pull in the whole personal thing and judge the person. But hopefully in professional settings, you'll remember that they're a person. Everybody makes mistakes. Go ahead, John.
I've heard an analogy, I won't use the bad word for the sandwich, but it's like you start with something positive and then give them the bad part and then close up with something positive. Is that part of this, or do you recommend that?
You could layer that in, but you want to be direct.
All right, now Elizabeth is shaking her head. I want your feedback.
So the sandwich methodology for giving feedback was something that was very popular, like 80s, 90s, early 2000s.
Okay.
And what I've read recently is that they actually have found out that the employees are onto us. that telling them, this was amazing, you did a really good job at this, and by the way, I need to tell you that you did bad at this, but you did really good at this. It actually loses the positive effect of sort of the two slices of compliment bread, and they either lose the middle part as far as needing to hear what you need to tell them, or if you really did want to give them the compliments too, it's lost that meaningfulness too, because they're paying attention to the middle, or they're not paying attention to the middle, and they're only paying attention to the slices of bread. So again, what now they're saying is, better to do something like this, where I tell you the good stuff, I tell you the bad stuff, I do it respectfully, etc., and that seems to have more value as far as performance feedback.
That's great. I haven't read anything. I know the model you're talking about that, but I've not read or heard anything about the effectiveness.
Directness over the patronizing
Yeah.
aspect of it.
Well,
Great, but.
Well, and again, I mean, it goes back to probably generations too. I mean, Charlotte can probably touch with generations as far as, that might have worked on one generation, but as we've ended up with different communication styles with generational differences, that now they appreciate, tell me like it is, give me more often, tell me more often, tell me the good, bad, and the ugly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's somewhat generational.
Yeah,
as well.
younger people much prefer more regular, more consistent, more frequent feedback, good or bad, just so they know if they're doing a good job or not.
So with this being done.
Well, I just saw Liz hand up.
I was going to say, this could be used to reinforce positive behavior too. It's not
Yes,
just negative.
yes,
Because
absolutely.
I'm more likely to repeat something if you tell me why it was good.
Yes.
Not just like, good job.
Yes, absolutely. And I've never thought about it, but I've actually, over the years, done that with my own children. It's like I see them handle a situation well, and I try to remember, oh yeah, yesterday when you were talking, I did this with my college-age daughter last week. We went to a situation, we're in the business office, she carried the whole conversation, like, in other words, she was the one, and I was just there for, in case she needed, I didn't say a word. And we walked out, and I said, you got it covered. I mean, you handled all the points you needed to make. So that's a great point to do it with coworkers or employees or that kind of thing.
Yeah, so what was your name again?
Liz.
Liz, great job. Not only is this good for constructive feedback, but also positive feedback, right?
Yep.
Great job yesterday, cool. But yesterday on our call, I noticed that you were mirroring back what the client was saying. Thank you. That gives them more confidence to speak their mind freely so we can get to the root cause of their issue. Next steps, keep up the great work.
Yeah. Yep.
Works for positive, works for constructive. By the way, next steps, in our scenario, I was the newbie, right? So we had to be more prescriptive about next steps. If you're dealing with someone who has more experience, don't be afraid to ask them for next steps. Right? At our meeting yesterday, I noticed you were interrupting our client. When you do that, they have a hard time speaking freely, and we can't get everything we need out of them. What can we do moving forward to make sure that these calls go better?
And as you've said to me, when you get their buy-in, they're more likely to buy in.
Yeah, when people weigh in, they buy in, right?
I couldn't remember your little phrase, but yes. So, we are going to practice this in a little bit. But before we do, Nick's going to cover one more tool, more for a group environment. And so he's going to cover that, and then we're going to practice the coin a little bit.
Awesome. So we're going to talk about the next tool, which is in my toolbox, called IDS. IDS stands for Identify, Discuss, USS, and Discuss and solve. So when there's a problem and we need other people's input, we IDS it. If there's an opportunity and we need other people's input, we IDS it, right? Feedback is more one-to-one. IDSing is, all right, we're coming to this issue. How are we going to solve it, right? This
Like a brainstorming.
More brainstorming. So oftentimes when we come across an issue, what we see is just the symptom. Right? It's not the root cause. So identifying means dig, and find out how we can solve this at the root so it doesn't come back up again. Then discuss. We have an open and honest discussion. Open, where we are open to hear other people's opinions, and honest, we're encouraging everyone to say what's on their mind, be candid. We're engaged in healthy conflict. Right? We say things once and only once, because when we repeat ourselves, we're beating a dead horse. Nay, nay, nay. And then when conversation becomes redundant, everyone's been heard, then we move to a solve. A solve leads to some sort of action item, right? A to-do, a project update, communication, whatever it is, people weigh in so they buy into the solve. So, what do we love to do as people? Out of all three of these steps, what do we love to do the most? We love to discuss. We love to talk about it. Oh my goodness, that was a big issue. I feel so good we finally talked about it. It feels great. Well, did we actually get to the root cause? Did we actually make a decision? Well, we did make a decision because no decision is a decision, but did we solve it with an action plan? but it felt pretty good though. So when you have really good teamwork, whether it's one-on-one, whether it's a small group, and we come across an issue that needs to be solved, some sort of problem, challenge, opportunity, idea that we need to bounce off others and get input, we IDS it. Identify the root cause, have an open and honest discussion, and then we move to a solve. Now, if there's multiple issues, right, we get them all on a list. All right, man, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, right? Maybe we have maybe we need to do something with our website, business-wise. Maybe we have this client who's thinking about leaving us. Maybe we are having a quality issue. Maybe we need to update our email database, right? Maybe we're off track with all of our prospecting calls, right? Oh, issue. Get the key stakeholders in a room. And then you don't start from the top and work your way down. You don't start with the easy one first. You figure out, all right, which one is most important? Let's start there. We prioritize. One,
you think so? We don't start with the easiest?
Don't start with the easiest. Do not start with the easiest. Start with what's most important. Because when you prioritize 1, 2, 3, the human brain says we can kind of process 3 things at the same time most effectively. So, all right, number 1. Okay, this one was, I don't remember what I said. Let's say we need to make this update to our website, right? Our content isn't clear, we're losing people. Okay, let's identify the root cause. Why? Okay, well, it looks like that through our analytics, we learned that people are bouncing off our website quickly. Why is that happening? Oh man, I don't know if when's the last time we updated our content? Oh wow, why haven't we updated our content recently? Well, we really don't know where to start. Okay, all right, so we got to figure out our content strategy in order to get our website to work in the way that it should. Great. We've identified the root cause. Now we have an open and honest discussion. What can we do about it? Right? Well, I can go in and I can start creating content. Well, that doesn't solve the root cause. What else? I can watch a YouTube video. I don't know. Well, I have this friend, John, who specializes in that. Let's have a conversation with him. Great. Anyone else have an idea? Nope. All right. The solve, let's talk to John. Right? Let's get him engaged with our website and figure out our content strategy. We cross that one off. We move on to the next one until our time allocated is done and we solved a bunch of issues and we have some to-dos to get done. Yes, John?
So when you solve, is that when you assign it to somebody to go take the action item?
Exactly. The solve will lead to typically a to-do.
Okay.
And then when we come back together next, we capture those to-dos to make sure they get done. Right? They're on our issues list, like we have our issues list here, we'll have our to-do list up here. Right, so 1, talk to John. Right, and maybe someone else will say, I'll talk to a website developer. Maybe there's 2 to-dos. And then we solve the next issue, we'll have to-do 3, to-do 4, right, boom. And then these 2 issues are still on here for next time because we solved the most important ones first because we prioritized. We identified the root cause, so we're not treating just a symptom. Oh, and by the way, spoiler alert, again, about 80% of the root causes for problems or challenges are either people-related or process-related. You fix those at their core, magically, a lot of these other issues just fall right off. We have an open and honest discussion, so everyone is heard, because we want to tap in across all generations, everyone's big, beautiful brains, right? They have perspective, they can be helpful. Then the decision maker makes a solve, everyone weighs in, so they're bought in, they're vested, they're committed, and then we make sure they get solved for good, because we do our to-dos. So that's what IDS looks like. Yes, John?
Do they vote on the top 3, or is it majority rules? Is it the boss has veto power?
So if you want to go next level down, ruling by consensus is not helpful. So it's not a democracy. Because when we come to a consensus, it's our attempt to appease everyone equally, and what happens is everyone is displeased equally. So another tool in my toolbox I call the accountability chart, right? Everyone is accountable for these 5 roles within the business. They are the ones who are making the decision. So sometimes it's the boss, sometimes it's not the boss, and the boss needs to be able to let go and allow their people to make these decisions even if they disagree with it. Because if they're the right person for the job, then we want to trust that they make the right decisions. Right? Responsibility without authority is debilitating. It just crushes people's souls.
In this environment, I was thinking of the barriers. If you have people that are more elephant, they're more avoid the conflict, as the person who's actually facilitating this meeting, and this was not a planned question, this just came up, is this should the leader actually draw those people out? In other words, is that part of the process where you say, Alan, I hadn't heard, from you, what are your ideas? Or do you just wait for people to?
Oh, a good leader will pull it out, right?
Okay.
Because the other people in the group might think you might be a little bit of a bully, right? We don't know where their head's at unless we ask them. Mm-hmm. So yeah, absolutely. Draw that out.
Good.
And then we'll learn, maybe they have an elephant problem where they're afraid to bring it out, right?
Yeah.
So Nick, when you do an implementation, are you kind of the arbiter, or are you able to kind of like, if it's a bunch of politicking in a room full of type A's, do you finally, get them to see that they need to come to some sort of consensus, even without your guiding them, or do they just kind of fight it out?
As a facilitator, I call myself, I'm just a monkey with a marker. So I'm here to control the energy, to bring stuff out of people, and when things get redundant, all right, do we have anything else we need to talk about? Alan, do you have everything you need to make a decision? Yes? Great. Done.
You try to put it on them to basically take ownership on their own.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, and then I was just going to say, going back to the generational things, a good leader, it would be helpful if they were aware of what the generational differences are in terms of communications. So you may need to be aware that this person doesn't tend to speak first, or this generation tends to have, they shut down a few minutes ago when this got contentious or whatever. So, paying attention to the generational communication style is important with any as well.
Absolutely.
Or you as the EOS implementer, right?
We have practiced empathy, right? We're curious, we seek to understand. We don't want to hide behind generational stereotypes. It's all about that human behind it. But yeah, understanding, this is empathy, putting yourself in their shoes. Oh my goodness, like this person is kind of withdrawn. Oh, their first 3 years in the workforce was work from home in COVID. They don't know how to work with in person. So then we either give them feedback or we work with them to come up with a solve.
And this is probably a topic that could be discussed for another 3 hours, but throw in the spectrum, people on the spectrum in the mix. How do you manage that? Because I obviously deal with a lot of that.
Yeah, that's where, if they're the right person for the role, are we equipping them? We have to look ourselves in the mirror. Are we giving them the right tools that they need? Right? Are we giving them the right tools? So it's understanding where they're coming from. It's seeking to understand, and it's being able to move accordingly, giving them the resources they need to succeed. Leadership ain't easy. Everyone thinks they want to be a manager until they actually have to manage people. What else? We ready to role play? Yeah? Quick question. Which generation loves role playing the most? Trick question. All generations hate role playing. That's one thing consistent about all generations.
All right, I've given you a little scenario. Do we have time for one or both?
I think we have time for 90 seconds for each.
Okay, it's going to be quick. Okay, A, B, A, B, A, B. Are you okay, A, B? Okay, and then you two work together. We're going to do some really quick scenarios where, and I'll read it out loud with you. I just wrote it so you didn't have to worry about remembering everything I said. A's are going to be coin scenario 1. B's are going to take coin scenario 2. So you're A people.
So A is giving the feedback to B for this first one?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
so
yes,
if you're
yes.
A, you're giving coin feedback to
Yes.
your B partner.
Yes. All right. A's, you are a service provider. A longtime client keeps asking for your longtime client is B, keeps asking for small extras outside of the scope of work that you agreed upon. You've avoided saying anything to keep the relationship smooth. You don't want to raise any red flags, but now it's creating stress for your team and it can't be ignored any longer. So A's, your goal is to give a few thoughts to this, go through the COIN. Here's what I saw. Here's what the setting was. Here's what I observed. Here's the impact it has, and here's how to handle it next, like what the next steps are. You're talking to your one of your clients. And so your goal is to address the pattern directly and professionally, clarify boundaries while maintaining a positive relationship. So we're going to do, let's give them 2 minutes. So you can either take 20 seconds to think through, or you can talk it through as you're going, like talking out loud if you want to. So go ahead and pair up. We're going to do 2 minutes of the A giving feedback to the client because they've been taking too much time.
All right, time to switch. Wrap up the conversation. Time to switch. Charlotte has a second scenario for you.
All right, so how'd it go, first of all?
It was good.
Good, okay. And we're going to unpack that in a minute. B's, y'all are now the feedback person. And you are a manager who has brought up concerns with your virtual assistant about deadlines they've missed and incomplete tasks, but they respond vaguely or get defensive. The pattern hasn't changed, even though you've said things, and their passive resistance is starting to impact your trust in them and the productivity. So B's, your goal is to give clear behavior-based feedback and an open, a productive conversation about expectations and accountability.
Using coin or still like?
Coin. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, time's up.
Yeah.
Wrap up what you're saying, please. You want to unpack it?
Yeah. How do we feel? How did it feel to give feedback? Felt wonderful, John?
So we actually, trying to give feedback I was trying to give feedback saying, for scenario 2, respond vaguely and get defensive. But we had kind of this discussion outside of that role playing where it was like, well, if somebody's like that, is the next step just you need to listen to me because this is what's happening? Or is this where it's it's okay for them to get, because they're giving defensive feedback, I don't see them getting out of that pattern.
Yeah, then you have to ask yourself, is this the right person for the seat, right? And it could change into a performance improvement plan, strike one conversation. It can escalate for sure.
It could also be why are you being defensive?
Yeah, be curious.
Find the cause behind that.
Yeah.
I noticed just now that you're being really, really defensive, and it's really not helping this conversation right here. How can you help me figure out why? Why are you feeling this way? So the coin can be, the coin leads to a coin leads to a coin sometimes.
Okay, that's good feedback because I was just sitting there in my mind going, I could see myself just being you know what, screw this dude. This conversation is going.
VA is put by AI.
John, you could use this with your parents.
How did it feel to receive the feedback?
Going to require some God work on that one.
How did it feel to receive the feedback in these fictional situations?
Jason, and he's so sweet.
And is it when we're giving feedback, what's better, being a hard ass or being sweet? I forget Miss Lunch.
I think it just comes down to being honest.
Being authentic. Who are you as a person?
I think there's also something that comes across from your tone too. You can say what a hard ass would say, but you can say it nicely and not have to come across with a hard ass tone.
Yeah.
You can't just say the facts and love. And a lot has to do with tone, your demeanor in which you project and what you communicate and how you say it.
And also the relationship.
Confidence.
If you have an existing relationship of trust, then you can say things and they won't get offended.
Yes, Liz, trust is the foundation of all of this. Without trust, none of this stuff works.
They did a research project. This is several years old actually, but they interviewed people walking out of the EEOC who had just filed an EEOC complaint against their organization, and they asked them, "Do you believe you were treated illegally?" And 69% of the respondents said no. What they said was they hadn't been treated with respect. So again, they had filed a complaint against the organization, not because anything illegal had happened, even including in their mind, but they had been treated badly as far as they were concerned. So again, to your point, you can say what you need to say as long as you say it with respect, and that'll buy you, a lot of favor with that person.
And the beautiful thing of this model, it's respect, right? We're going after the behavior, not the individual. All right, we are at time. So real quick, I want each of you to take 30 seconds, write down, I want you to commit. What's one conversation you've been avoiding? Who is it with? What's the core issue? What's one sentence to start the conversation? Which tool are you going to use? And by when? And with that, thank you, Charlotte. Great job.
Thank you. You too.
Nailed it.
Great job.
All right, and we want to wrap it up with one quote.
Oh, I forgot about the quote.
Yeah. Every time we choose courage over comfort, we build stronger teams, and you don't need to solve everything all at once. You just need to start the conversation.
Start the conversation. One small step.
Thank you.